Water elemental, lesser water spirits. Do not approach them without first preparing a suitable defense. First, make sure you have the Spark Fusion spell. It can be found in the abandoned mines off of the Bandit's Hollow. Iron Key is required. Once you have the spell casted on Ashley's weapon and attack the elemental using a blunt or edged weapon, it can cast the Aqua Blast spell, so buffing your armor with Undine Jaspers and Marid Aquamarines will be helpful. Marid, Water Diver, sunk Leamonde into the waters 25 years ago with the aid of Dao, the Earth Diver. It is fought 2 times in the game, one at the Grand Cathedral and the other at the Escapeway. Both enemies retain the same stats. Dark Elemental, lesser spirits of darkness, more powerful than other elemental spirits of Leamonde. The first type of Dark Elemental is fought in Undercity West, while the second type is fought on its subsequent appearances. Light affinity attacks works well against Dark Elemental. Soul Kiss does less well than one might hope due to the elemental's strength against piercing damage. Invigorate, Prostasia, and Degenerate are good prep work. Defensively, Demon Scale is the key defense ability, but Magic Ward can render it superfluous. Nightmare, Dark Diver. It is filled with an insatiable craving to see the living suffer. It is fought at the Grand Cathedral's room. What ails you kills you. When Ashley enters the room, a curious disc flies around him, finally stopping mid-air. It has a half face of the sun and the moon, and the nightmare is spawned from it. As there is no spell to increase light affinity, you will have to rely on casting Degenerate on the nightmare, followed by Heracles and Prostasia on yourself. Equip a blunt weapon and attack its body. Wyvern. One is featured as the introductory mini-boss, and a much more powerful Wyvern serves as a proper boss later on. The most effective weapon against this enemy is an edged-type weapon, one of which is found at the Miners' Resting Hall, located northwest of the Wyvern's location, an axe called the Stinger. This weapon, combined with a Dragonite gem, is effective if used to attack the Wyvern's tail. The player has to try moving around the Wyvern to target its tail, however, which takes a lot of maneuvering. Wyvern Knight, a ferocious subspecies of dragon. They rarely appear above ground. The Wyvern Knight can use a breath attack, so jump underneath its head as soon as the battle begins to avoid this. Cast Heracles and then attack its head, body, or neck with an edged weapon buffed by Prostasia. It will drop the chest key on its defeat, which is required to open several very useful treasure chests. Wyvern Queen, Queen of Dragons. Her rule is total, and her spawn would readily give their lives for her. This battle follows the same pattern as the other Wyvern battles. First begin by jumping underhead to avoid her breath attack. Then follow up by casting Degenerate on her and Heracles and Prostasia on yourself, and attack her body with an edged weapon or her head with a blunt weapon. Dragon. It is best to begin this battle by jumping underneath the dragon's head to avoid its thermal breath attack. Once the player is protected from this, equip a piercing or edged weapon and attack its head or neck. A dragon is a legendary creature, typically with serpentine or reptilian traits, which is featured in the myths of many cultures. Sky Dragon. Large dragons inhabiting clouds, they are also known as thunder dragons. First jump underneath the dragon's head to avoid its breath attack. Then equip an edged weapon, cast Soil Fusion, and attack its head. The player should cast Vulcan Lance and Gaia Strike to increase damage done. Flame Dragon. Flame Dragon is a boss from Vagrant Story fought in the Hall of Broken Vows in the Grand Cathedral. Begin the battle by jumping underneath its head. Then cast Heracles and Frost Fusion on an edged weapon and attack its head. If one has a high spell level and MP to spare, try casting Avalanche or Aqua Blast to increase damage output. Earth Dragon. Also known as land dragons, their tough hides are nigh impossible to pierce. The player should be better prepared for this battle than the battle with the dragon before it. Begin by buffing your weapon with Luft Fusion, which will increase air affinity. Then jump underneath the Earth Dragon's head to avoid its breath attack, and attack its head with a piercing weapon. Snow Dragon. Because of their freezing breath attack, these dragons are often called the Worms of Ice. It can be fought again as part of the time trials in the keep. The player should jump underneath the Snow Dragon's head to avoid its breath attack, and then cast Spark Fusion on an edged weapon and attack its head. The player can add a Flame Sphere and a Fireball to increase damage output. Archdragon, the most intelligent of all dragons, but at the same time one of the most evil. The player should jump underneath the dragon's head to avoid its divine breath attack. As there are no affinity spells that increase dark affinity, the player will just have to cast Heracles and Prostasia on before attacking the dragon's head with an edged weapon. If the player's spell level is high enough, they can try casting Meteor to do some dark affinity damage. Dark Dragon, dragons of the underworld who feast on human flesh and souls. The player should begin the battle by jumping underneath the Dark Dragon head to avoid its breath attack. As there are no light affinity buffing spells, the player will have to make do with Radial Surge and Spirit Surge, or by attacking the dragon's head or neck with a piercing weapon. Dragon Zombie, powerful zombies who crave souls tainted by the dark. The Dragon Zombie is immune to Tarnish because it does not have any equipment. The battle can be easily won by using Exorcism. Kali, fought at the Chamber of Reason in the Temple of Kiltia, statue of the goddess of destruction that the dark instilled with unholy life. Kali is not too difficult of a boss. Casting Heracles and Prostasia will be enough to beat her. She is immune to most status ailments, but can be inflicted with lead bones, which will make her easier to hit. Ravana, a mechanical statue of a deity engineered in the era of Mullenkamp, fought in the pressing area in Iron Maiden B2. Ravana is relatively easy to beat by the time the player reaches Iron Maiden B2. The player should cast Degenerate on Ravana and bestow Heracles and Prostasia on Ashley. Asura, a deity that lay imprisoned in the depths of Leia Mond for centuries. Asura is a superboss from Vagrant Story, fought in Iron Maiden B3 and at the Keep Time trials. Ashley will likely be doing 0 damage to Asura. To counteract this, he can use a Heavy Shot and Crimson Pain Chain to deal meaningful damage to Asura. At the start of the battle, the player can try inflicting her with lead bones, which she is not immune to, which will cancel out the Surging Balm, and she will waste time restoring it. The player should never give her a gap to use any of her attacks, and make sure to keep your health up.